Lost treasure, chased by pirates, submerged cannon. Have you seen this?
What? What are you reading?
I'm reading Stan Joyne's book, The Eighth Flag here, and he's talking about the wreck of the John and Martha just outside Salt River.
Oh, awesome. There's a wreck out there?
There is. I think we need to give him a call.
Let's do it.
Can you call him?
Yes.
All right. I want to go find it.
All right. Let me go call him.
Good. Hey guys, Jeff and Sarah here with Triton's Realm. Now normally we're getting our scuba diving equipment together so we can get beneath the waves with our underwater communication equipment to narrate a different dive for you. But today we've been reading the book called The Eighth Flag by Stan Joynes. He's a local St. Croix author. We've got a link below in the description to the book, so definitely check that out. But in there he talks about a wreck near Salt River on the North Shore that there's rumored to be some lost silver. They've been chased down by pirates to end up on that reef, and there's some submerged cannon out there as well. Yeah. So what did he have to say?
He's good to go. Going to meet us on the beach.
Fantastic. So we don't need any of our dive gear for today. We are just going to grab our mast fins and snorkel and wade out into just some waist deep water there. The main challenge though is going to be this wreck site is in breaking waves. So we've got some surf to contend with as well as some currents. So we're going to see how it goes. Our son Evan's going to join us, but let's get out to the beach. Stan, how are you?
Super.
Thanks for meeting with us today here at Salt River. So tell us about the wreck out here at Salt River. What's the name? What's a little bit of the history?
Right here, Martel had built a battery with cannon.
Okay.
The Scarborough knocked him out. They might still be here. He had put more cannon at the old fort, Saleh.
Yep.
The Scarborough was able to dismount those guns by firing.
Okay.
Then they turned their guns on the John and Martha. They sunk the Renown. And they turned their guns. The Renown had been pulled herself out to cover the entrance to Salt River. And Scarborough sunk her. She's still there.
Oh wow. Okay.
The John and Martha stayed where she was, and the cannonballs were striking her not with much power. They were hitting the mangroves, slowing down, and either didn't hit her at all or didn't hit her with much power.
Gotcha.
And the pirates got lucky. The wind, because before they knocked all the mangroves down and started really socking her, the wind, as it does, this was November 16th, 1716. Christmas winds are coming. So the wind's waffling over, it waffled over to the northeast. That swung the Scarborough towards the reef.
Okay.
Okay, that's not gonna work. They upped their anchor and stood off, and instead they blockaded the harbor, sailing off and on, reaching from north to south off of Salt River Harbor, waiting for the John and Martha to try to make her break. Well, 4 days later, they decided they were going to have to. The moon set at 9:16 that evening, and they started kedging her out.
Okay.
They put some anchors to the north from her beam to swing her, put some to the east, and kedged and warped her out of the harbor. Put up a jib, put her head off. Someone from the village here was out in a dinghy with a lantern to mark the reef for them, and somebody else to mark the Renown where it had sunk, so she didn't hit it.
Yep.
Very good. And she made it out of the cut. So she's sailing out of here. The moon is down.
Yeah.
It had to have been blowing about 12 knots with small swells. Any less wind, the John and Martha, 120-foot ship, is probably not sailing out of here.
Okay.
The waves, when the ocean hits 1,000 feet and shoals to 50, you get good swells. You're going to have a little momentum to carry you through those swells. Probably about 12, and probably the swells were very flat because they messed up. You're heading out, you're heading to the north on a starboard tack. You know that your enemy is out there also. They could be on a port tack. You've been timing it. You think they're still on port and haven't come to starboard yet. But what if they have? What if you're headed right for the 32-gun frigate and your nose? John and Martha had 4-pounders with a few 6s. It wasn't an even match.
Sure.
So paranoid as they were, plus with the big swells that seemed to keep them from making any progress at all, hardly. They wanted to go over to port tack as quickly as they could, where they're on a reach, with the waves from the broadside instead of into their nose, and you go a lot faster. But they went over too soon because those waves kept pushing her over farther in towards St. Croix again. And she didn't see the White Horse Reef.
Okay.
They didn't see White or hear White Horse Reef. They ran right onto Black Rock at midnight. They threw a bunch of cannon off the bow to pitch her up.
Yep.
They put out 2 anchors to the northwest, which are still there, to try to pull her back.
Yep.
It didn't work. The moon was over there. She waited for the moon to set to get out, so they couldn't see her sails in the moonlight. But guess what? That meant the water's going that way.
Sure.
Tide is following.
Yep.
They couldn't get her off. At 5 o'clock, the sky started to gray. The Scarborough saw her. She opened fire with a bow chaser. She was on a port tack coming this way by that time, and she had the John and Martha in her sights.
Yep.
Quick, they pulled a small sloop up that was one of their prize sloops. Some men sailed it out to them, and they started frantically trying to get the 1,000 pounds of silver they had aboard off.
Sure.
But it couldn't hold but 11 people. So Martel and Kennedy grabbed 9 men of the 125-man crew and said, "We'll be back for you." But they couldn't get the silver either. They started frantically trying to get some silver over. It was in the stern of the John and Martha. Someone knocked a kerosene lamp over. It was still dark outside and very dark down below. Set a fire. And the wood around the silver is on fire.
Yeah.
They just had to jump on the little sloop and get out of here. That's what they did. And the rest of the men, Scarborough's coming, they did what anybody would do. They jumped off the ship, swam ashore right here, and ran into the bush. Winds of November, the Christmas winds did come. Christmas winds, if you will. It lifted the rest of the hulk in, and it brought it to the Judas Fancy Reef, where it settled, leaving the cannon where they are. I also had the cannon. I measured the cannon. I took pictures, and I sent them into England's leading expert on antique cannon, Dr. Charles Trollope.
Okay.
And he said, based on what he could tell from the measurements and the pictures, they appeared to be 4-pounder minions and 6-pounder sakers, manufactured in Sweden between 1670 and 1716.
Okay.
The John and Martha was built in 1700 in New England, and she was destroyed on this reef in 1716.
Success?
Success, mission accomplished. It's a little rough out there. It's definitely building, but mission accomplished.
Awesome.
So we are back in the office. Unfortunately, we are empty-handed, so the chest of silver still lays down there somewhere on the ocean floor waiting to be discovered. Maybe we'll be lucky if we ever head out there again. Maybe somebody else will be lucky enough to find it, but it is still there to be discovered. But today we were able to find the cannon that are down there, and we were able to take a whole bunch of pictures of them, and we've actually uploaded those to our computer here and run it through some software called Agisoft, which helps us create a 3D model. We don't have any affiliation with Agisoft, but they do some fantastic software for creating these models. We've got a wireframe of the site up here on the screen, so if we just take a second and we overlay that with some texture and coloration, we can really see what we were looking at from a bird's eye view and rotate it around. So over here on the left, we've got one cannon just laying right here. There's a second one kind of laying across over here, a third right here in front, and then a fourth up here and a fifth behind it as well. And if we just kind of rotate this guy around a little bit, not trying to get too crazy here. Let's see if we can get this back side pretty good. There we go. So we're taking a look at it from behind. There is actually a 6th cannon just tucked right in here and a mortar next to it as well. So what a historic and fascinating little site that this is. These cannon are really embedded in the coral. They've been down there for, hundreds of years. They're pitted. They're certainly encrusted. If they were to ever come out, they'd probably just completely disintegrate. So getting the documentation enriched by taking photographs and creating these models, I think is super important while they're still in the water and we still have that opportunity to document them. So glad we could add a little bit more information to the record for them today. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about how we create these 3D models, definitely check out our video on how we created a 3D model of an anchor that's underwater. But until next time, if you really enjoyed what you saw here, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you don't miss a dive. But guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.